Alright, so in this part we're going to be modeling our wheels for this car. Then we'll cover tires after that and we can put them together. And our model will basically be pretty close to done, for modeling anyways. But let's dig into creating some wheels. Probably the best way to do this is by opening up a file that already has some wheels in it. Just making sure they're selected, clicking Control C to copy selected objects to buffer. Then we'll go back to the project that we're working on, click Control V, and just scale our objects to the correct size if they're different. And just line them up according to where they're supposed to be. And yeah, we got a nice set of wheels. I'm just going to add an array modifier, change some of these values to just duplicate them all across the way. So now we got all 4 of our wheels and we're done. Cool. Just kidding. That is one way you could make wheels. I mean, they're wheels, so you can use them between different vehicles. If you just want to see what something looks like with a different set of wheels, you can just copy them between files. We will actually make the wheels, but this is something you can do too if you have backup or more wheels. Alright, cool. That was stupid. So I actually made a tutorial on creating wheels before, and it's the same exact wheel as the one we're going to be making today, so it's a little bit redundant, but we're going to do it anyways. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new reference picture. It says Charger wheel, which is a different car, but it's the same wheel style. And I'm basically just going to do exactly the same thing that I did in the previous tutorial on wheels. So the first step is to center the reference image center of the wheel to the center of where our axes meet together. And I might just rotate this a little bit so that again, this is the same as before, but we're going to model this portion of the wheel. Then we're going to mirror it across, and then we'll use an array modifier to create the additional spokes that will rotate around the everything. This seems familiar. So let's go ahead and add in an object. I'm going to add a circle. If we open up our toolbar, we can align that to view, and this may take some experimenting, but you want a specific amount of vertices. You want a vertice that goes down the center, and then a vertice that lines up somewhere along the center of the next one. And I actually just watched the previous video to review, and I believe it was 42 vertices. So I'm going to scale this up to the size of the outer side of the tire. And then we had these 4 vertices, this one being the center of that. So I'm going to select those 4 vertices, click Control I to select everything else, and I'm going to delete those. And I'm going to change our pivot point to 3D cursor, and just click Shift C to make sure your cursor is in the center of that object. And then I'm just going to scale and extrude and scale these several lines that make up this outer portion. I will Shift D to duplicate, and I'm actually forgot to turn on screencast keys. And I'll scale this down to create this portion down here. Scale it down to something like that, and we'll cut out this hole for the lug nut afterwards. But so we have all that geometry. Now we just have to model in the spoke object. And to do this, actually before we do that, I'm just going to move these back. Oh, that's fine, whatever. Yeah, it looks like it goes in a little bit, maybe not that much. This one goes down a little bit, something like that, perhaps. And our normals are backwards, so I'll just click Control N to fix that. Then we'll go ahead and model this half a spoke out here. So I'm just gonna move around some geometry to do that. And try to keep this as low poly as possible, because you get a lot of geometry from duplicating this, so that is one thing to keep in mind, is just that whatever amount of geometry you use for this single half a spoke, you will be timesing it by however many spokes you have, and then whether or not you're using a subsurf modifier after that, it just starts to add up very, very quickly. So just be wary of that. And I'm just gonna make sure this goes ever so slightly into that outer portion. Then I will extrude this part to create the right down there, and I'll bring it back. Then I'll repeat the process on this side, and I just exclude that one for now. Scale it in, move it into place, and then for that single vertice, I'm just going to change this back to 3D cursor, extrude and scale up so that it follows that that line that we've established there. And then I'm just actually going to select those two portions, scale them to similar X's, and now I'll bring them back to something like that. Now this is a bit more simple than the last one we did, which is good because we want simple. Then, so after we've modeled that single spoke, we can go ahead and add in our mirror modifier to mirror it over. And then what we want to do is, since there's 7 spokes in total, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yep, we want 7 of these, so 5, 6, 7. Then we're going to add in a, make sure your cursor's centered, Shift-C, add in an empty object. You can use whatever you want. I'll just use the plain axes. For your array modifier, choose object offset, and I'm actually just going to name this empty wheel control, and then we'll go ahead and wheel control. And that's not at all what we want to do, so we'll go ahead and click Shift-A to apply rotation and scale. And I don't think that's what I wanted to do. Do we keep that? Hold on a second. Alright, so I forgot a step. So before we do that array modifier, we want to apply our mirror modifier. Essential. And now we can add an array modifier, bump the count up to 7, change relative offset to object offset, we'll make it wheel control, apply rotation and scale, which you can do using Control-A. That's just apply stuff. And then if we rotate our our empty object that will control our wheel. Cool. And under your wheel, your array modifier, you just want to click merge and first, last, so that the geometry connects where the new ones start. And you might even want to select that and extrude it back a bit, something like that, and maybe even do it here as well. So something like that. And then what I do is I'm going to select all of that, click Shift D to duplicate it, and move it to a separate layer. And now for this, we can go ahead and apply that. You can delete that. So this is just one whole object now. And you can go ahead and apply your Subsurf Modifier. We actually probably should have done this before because it's a little rounded for my taste. You can add some loop cuts to sharpen things up. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel some areas. No, I'm not. So that's going to be fine for there. I will actually bevel a couple of things on this side. So I'm going to go to Edge Select and select some edges to sharpen things up. I'm basically just going to select all the sharp corners across these spokes. We should have done this before we applied our modifiers, but I didn't, so whoopsies. Yep, just select all of basically, if it looks too rounded with your Subsurf modifier, you can just, those are the edges that I'm selecting. So if all of those selected, I'm just going to click Control B to bevel, and that'll sharpen things up. And now that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and fill in these this circle. So now we got that filled in, and we got five lug nuts. So I'm going to turn off our Subsurf modifier, turn this on to flat, and I'm going to, what am I going to do here? I'm going to just select, hold on, let me see what I want, how I want to do this. I'm going to move this to the center. I'm just going to add some loop cuts to here. To get some geometry. So I want a loop cut through the center of the circle, one for the outer and one for the inner. And then I'm going to select those four faces for each lug nut. Just make sure that it's the symmetrical faces. Doesn't have to be perfect. If that's the center 1, 2, 3, if that's the center 1, 2, 3, something like that. Then if we go to our loop tools circle, they will turn into circles. And I think we did that before. It was an add-on. So if you don't have loop tools, go to File, User Preferences, Add-ons. Make sure you have loop tools. Just go to your W Specials menu and click Circle. And they're kind of weird. They're rotated a little bit, so You can rotate them back into position individually in order to reduce mesh deformation. Just want to keep those lines as straight as possible. And then with those selected, so now we have some circles here. And select them again, extrude down. Then we can scale them in. And I think we can actually delete those faces. Oh, actually, instead of deleting them, yeah, delete those faces, and then we can add the lug nuts by just selecting the rings, Shift D, make sure individual origins is selected, extrude down, extrude out to create a bolt. And actually I want these to be beveled. Yeah, and that's a pretty darn good wheel, I think. The only areas that is kind of messy are where these connect here. So if you want to spend a little bit more time actually merging these before your geometry all connects. Oh, did I forget to do that? I did. Oh no, I forgot to bevel this part. Yeah, whoopsies. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and bevel that now, and then I will merge all of these vertices. Center. Alright, that looks... it's not as quite as good as I would like it to be, but yeah, you could neaten this geometry and this intersecting geometry here by actually connecting these vertices with the vertices here on the spoke itself, but that I just don't want to right now. So that's our wheel. I'm gonna add some more loop cuts here. Actually, I'll just bevel it. Why can't I select it? There we go. Just bevel it, and yeah, it's a pretty good wheel, I think. You might even sharpen up some of this geometry. Perhaps here and here. Beveling is just another way to, with modeling with your Subsurf modifier, that's just another good way to sharpen some areas up if they look a little bit too rounded for your tastes. Yeah, so that's our wheel. So if we go back to our model, we can go ahead and scale that down into the correct positioning. I'll turn off that and turn back on that. I'll just place this where we would like our wheel to be. And I'm going to go ahead and add in a mirror modifier and just do that. Maybe scale it a little bit along the X since our proportions aren't right. And then we can go ahead and again do that array modifier. An array modifier, it just duplicates things. And using relative offset, you can change the where it goes. If you hold down Shift, it'll be nice and smooth. And yeah, we have 4 nice looking wheels on here. So hopefully, I mean, if I forgot to explain something, it'll definitely be in the other video. That's how you make some wheels. And again, in the next part, we'll make some tires. The only thing about the wheels is that it adds a lot of geometry. Tires even more so. So we'll focus on keeping the low poly count while doing those. But yeah, hopefully you found this interesting. If you have any questions, feel free to comment in the below. And yeah, see you in the next part. We're definitely getting close, so it's very exciting.